Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So your right palm on your left, neck it straight in one line and be comfortable with your posture. So bring your attention to your body and observe head to toes. Then bring your attention to the sound around you. Some sound appear very close to you, some sound far away. Some sound in high volume and some low. Some sound pleasant, some sound unpleasant. Some sound long, stay longer, stay shorter. Just try to recognize separately. And also, don't go towards the sound, just let the sound come towards you. Whatever sound you hear, you recognize, otherwise don't try to keep going towards the sound. So bring attention to your body. Mentally relax your mind, relax your breathing, and relax your body. And take a moment and think. We gathered here in this moment to practice this ancient meditation technique. All the Buddhas, all the enlightened masters followed this path and achieved wisdom. So we also gathered here to accumulate that knowledge in this moment with this sitting. May my body become more comfortable. May my breath be more smooth. May no difficulties come to me. May all the success come to me. And also think for a moment, this is the last moment we're spending in this very lifetime. And detach your mind from all your past memories and as well as any kind of future thoughts. Just try to remain observing the sensation of your inhalation, exhalation. So in the beginning, focus your mind to the lower part of the body. And recognize the sensation or the feelings, tightness, heaviness, any sensation. Just get a mental note. And bring attention to your lower back. And upper back and upper shoulders. And arms, elbow, forearms, palms, fingers, fingertips. And bring attention to chest and your abdominal area and observe the sensation. Whatever the feelings arise, get a mental note. Your neck and your head. Now observe head to toes and just get a mental note. Just recognize if there any kind of sensation or the feelings arise. Don't try to change anything. Don't try to think over it. Just let that things to be there as it is. Now bring attention to in front of your nose and your upper lip area. And observe your inhalation, exhalation, and recognize separately this is inhalation, this is exhalation. Just know inhalation, exhalation related with the bodily action. So try to allow your body to inhale, exhale itself. Don't try to do anything mentally. When it happens, recognize this is inhalation, this is exhalation. Don't try to hold or count or maintain. Just observe. When you observe, try to be completely free from all the patterns, methods, believing, hopes. Just with the clear, empty mind, observe and recognize. Make that observation clear, more deeper, recognizing the beginning, the middle, end of the inhalation, exhalation, the entire continuation of your inhalation, exhalation. And some inhalation become longer, shorter, heavy, soft, warm, cold. Just recognize it, accept it. Don't keep any gap in between the observer and the subject you observe. Focus and recognize what you experience as sensation. Forget about it is inhalation, no exhalation, no short or long. Drop all the categories. Just be with the sensation and recognize the change. And observe and recognize the change, impermanence of the sensation, and unsatisfactory nature. Even though it is a sensation itself, it cannot hold it to a moment. Itself, everything change moment by moment. And it everything happen according to necessary conditions around it, not because of the self-centered reason. Your life is not your past or future. In this very moment, what you experience is your life. So then look what you experience. In the surface level, maybe you recognize this or that, but in the depth, it's just the change. When the mind able to recognize that, it come out of the becoming nature. It come out of the desire. When there's no desire, when there's no collective nature, there is nothing to let go. You become free from memory, you become free from thoughts. When you become free from thoughts, there is nothing to come against or there's nothing to go against. That's where you become free from all the hatred, anger, envy, jealousy. That's where the heart become completely purified. That purification is self-purification that will transform you to liberation. Bring attention to your body. Mentally repeat after me. May all living beings in this universe be well and happy. May everyone be happy and safe, and may their hearts be filled with joy. May all living beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, visible or not visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Expand the loving kindness and compassion beginning from your heart. Visualize yourself and send it as a light forward. to your backside, to your left side, and to your right side. Downward and upward. To all six directions at once, like the moon, the sun, spread the light, spread the energy. Without any condition, without any limitation, without any resistance, or without any judgment. Let your heart to shine with the loving kindness and compassion from the bottom of it with the maximum effort to the highest. Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dhamma friends, practicing this meditation is lead us to recognize the ultimate truth. So when it comes to truth, there are two kinds of truths. One is conventional truth, another one is eternal truth. So when it comes to conventional truth and recognizing things with the name and form and according to time and space, and recognizing your responsibilities, relationships, and doing your good things to others. So this all the practice related to conventional truth. But when it comes to eternal truth, it is completely different. We recognize the very essence of, very nature of everything. And when it comes to that recognition, there is no name or form. There is no such a thing. We recognize the very nature of, very essence of this all existence without categorizing. That everything comes to three categories: Anitya, Dukkha, Anatma. Impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, or some people use word suffering, and it has to explain in a deeper way. Another one is selflessness. Those are the three things in the eternally that you can recognize in everything. But conventionally, you have different things, and according to the relationships and according to the situations, and even as example, we take this body as myself, I am, but it's a conventional. just to address or just to recognize, just to make make convenient for others. So like that. So you have to remember these two things separately and be very clear with it. There are two kinds of truths, conventional truth and eternal truth. The conventional truth is always this outside world. The eternal truth related to the depth of this everything, and even the other thing is conventional truth go with the time and the space, that but eternal truth not belong to time or the space. It is a truth for entire universe, and the whole it is a truth for the past, for the present, or even the future. So then another thing is the consciousness, and we believing there is something, there are most of trying to maintain their life thinking or believing there is somebody or there is something within us. But when it comes to the eternal truth, when your mind able to see things very clearly, you can recognize what is this body. So that recognition itself take you out of the self-centered mind. So just look how this life happening. What is this life? When we take it to you, what you name as you? Okay, you are this body, this eye, ear, nose, tongue, and the mind. These six senses. That is you. And then the consciousness. What is consciousness? If you look very carefully and slowly, the consciousness have six kind of consciousness in the beginning. What are those? Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and the mind consciousness. So how the eye consciousness happen? The eye consciousness happen, this you need this physical eye, and then you that from outside world, whatever the color or the pictures appear, and when it come to this eye activate. In that activation, there is a recognition happen. That recognition happen according to the consciousness. So it's not going to happen before or after. It happen at the same time when the contacts happen with the eye, not before, after the contact, or the before the contact. That's why you have to be very clear with that. So from here, just stop. Your eye consciousness happen when something you see, and in that very moment the contact happen. When that contact happen, in that very moment the consciousness arise. But if there is consciousness or the Atma or the self exist beyond this, how this consciousness arise in this very moment? Because then maybe the recognition can happen before you see it. Why? Because you have certain consciousness or the certain ideas or the thoughts or the Atma to recognize it. Because without consciousness, there is no self. But you have to be slow down and look very carefully. When the contact happen, in that very moment consciousness arise, not after, not before. And then your ear, this ear, that you can see as like this organ, but this is not the ear. This is just the 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 physical part of the ear. But the real ear appear when the sound comes. In that very moment when the sound come and go through this all the process of the ear, that activation we call ear. So in that very moment the consciousness arise. So when the sensation arise, when the contacts happen, in that very moment ear consciousness arise. So otherwise ear consciousness not happen before or after. So the nose the same. When the aroma touch your nose, the system, in that very moment, the entire process recognizing or this, that recognition is the consciousness. So it's not going to happen before or after. And the tongue also the same, body also the same, and the mind also the same. The thought arise, in that very moment you recognizing. So that recognition, the consciousness arise not before or not after. And this happen very fast. And for the consciousness, now we say eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness according to its location. But this all have the same kind of nature. It's like fire. Okay, so whatever the material you use to get the fire, according to that material, you can name the fire in a separate way. As example, if you put the wood, and you can name it as a wood fire. And then if the gas, you can name it as the fire came from gas. And sometimes the electricity create certain fire. And then the final source you go and recognizing, oh, it happened because of the electricity. But the fire has the same nature, even though you give a name according to its birthplace, the nature of it. So the same like your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, consciousness has the same kind of nature, but according to its birthplace, we give a name. Otherwise, it all the same. That's why we cannot, in the depth, we cannot separately recognize it. It's like this. You get the ghee, or you get wood, you get cow dung, and you get cotton, and you put papers. So you put everything together, and then you lit it, and the fire arises. So that whatever the fire, it's has the same nature, even though the material things different. But in the beginning, it come out of a different material. The same kind, when the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, this everything come together, then we say it is consciousness. Why it is a consciousness, awareness? And because it arises from different places, but it has the same nature, and this all thing, it happens so fast, and because of that we take it as one. It's like the same like the fan, when it move very fast, that you see it kind of like a circle. You cannot separately recognize it. But when you go deeper, when you separate, then you recognize there is nothing. That is what Buddha said. That is how you can experience it. It's same like this. So there is a cake, you cut to six pieces, and then you put the name. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. And take six pieces away. And then there is nothing going to be there. The same like when you slow down, when you deeply develop the sati, sampajanya, clear comprehension, clear attention, awareness, you name whatever. And when you go deeper and recognize and separately eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and the mind consciousness. There is nothing going to be found. You cannot find anything beyond this six consciousness. That then how you can say this is Atma, or this is higher self. This all come out of these six. So then why it called it is impermanent? This is why. So your eye, this physical eye, and we talk about how that it become the real eye. So this physical eye related with the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. This physical. That's why it's always changing. And you go to atomic, at subatomic particle, this whole body, and then you come to electron, neutron, or the proton. So if you take one electron, that electron exists with the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. And you take the hardness, and then you observe deeply. In that hardness, you find heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. And you take liquidity nature and observe it, find it has heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. And then you take the heat and observe, in that you find, so like that. That is the final source of this all material. Your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, the same. And then so whatever this material object, it also came out of heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. It never appeared. There is nothing in this universe appear. If something appear as a material, it come the beginning source is the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. Those four things should come together. And the very nature of this is always like an electron, neutron, proton. It always moving and changing. So now look. So whatever my eye belong to heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. So whatever the picture or the colors, and that also come from the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. So then when these two things come together, the ear consciousness arise. So that cannot be permanent. Why? Because the eye impermanent, the whatever the outside, this material things impermanent, the colors impermanent. Why? Because it came out of the heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. What is the very nature of it? Changing. So when these two things come together and become one, as your recognition, and in that very moment, out of that recognition, whatever the consciousness arise, that also belong to change. So then when you able to recognize with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, you recognizing this everything from inside. You have heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. The outside, heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. And these two things come together, and whatever can appear. It can happen many ways. Even the any miracles can happen. Even you can show different things, magics, but still Satan going to belong to heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. So that is why it is impermanent. There is nothing belong to beyond this heat, motion, liquidity, and hardness. So when the day you recognize it, you no need any kind of lectures to or any kind of teachings to understand what is impermanent. So that's why through the meditation, it take you slowly, little by deeper to recognize this mechanism. And once you have that, the mind not going to itself, your awareness not going to itself hold it to a moment. So even what you experience in that very moment, what you experience and even the experiencer, this both moment by moment going to change. So then there is a problem come. Who experienced this? How that who going to experience it? So this is the point. This is what mostly people try to keep. There is somebody experiencing this change. There's somebody, something, there's something behind us experiencing this all as the bigger picture. When you deeply observe, it's just the reflection of the observer. There's nothing else. It's like the shadow. Okay. So just the thing, the object is the light. Be very careful. Okay. So the object is the light. And the subject is the observer. So the object is the light. Subject is the observer. So when the reflection happens, and sometimes this subject start to get the shadow because of the object. The shadow, the subject get the shadow, and when the subject become more attached to the object, and the subject become afraid or going to take its own shadow as something. So be very careful and listen slowly. Whatever the desire, it can be thought or idea or things or the position or the place or anything. That's your object. The subject is you, your conscious, your awareness. When the subject have the desire to go towards the object, it reflects the subject itself and create a shadow. And the subject cannot recognize. That's why in day-to-day life, people, when their mind is somewhere else, sometimes they get afraid with their own shadow. And according to the space, and the shadow can become shorter or longer. So according to the power of the light, the shadow going to become heavy or soft. So same like according to the desire towards the object, it creates shadow. It's on your own consciousness, awareness. It's nothing exists beyond this. Your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, awareness. So whatever happened, it should come out of this somehow. 6. So once you go deeper and recognize this all one by one, one by one, and the very nature of it, and recognize this, then you recognize what is this selflessness. But in conventional life, of course, we accept and to maintain our life like this. We follow the time and the space, we follow the name and form, but in eternal truth, there is nothing. But you cannot go to that nothingness, or you cannot go to eternal truth without recognizing conventional truth properly. So whatever appear to you in front of you, if you cannot recognize it very clearly, how you going to recognize something that hide inside you? So that's why first master with the conventional truth, recognize what it is and what is its nature, and then slowly step by step start to go. So that's how you can come out of the self-centered mind. And then one the day come for you to recognize that within yourself, that it's kind of like you release the your awareness from the self-centered idea. And then in that very moment, you become nobody, and you're not going to belong to any time or the space or anything. And that is where you can experience the ultimate bliss of liberation. So with that, I bless upon everyone with this good practice. May all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, may no difficulties come to you, may no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. And finally, may you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityo vajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava. Ittavata ca mihi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba siddhya sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idam me punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you. So thank you very much everyone.